Hello. Enrica Eshkibok here. I am woman. I am woman who rules with the green leaf. And I just want to share with you, anybody who wants to listen and might want to hear what I have to say. I'm listening to here right now. I have playing in the background. It's a flag song. This song is played, at our powwows. The song is played at our powwows, to honor our veterans and elders and ancestors and, and nations. And to honor the flags. To honor the flags of all the nations. We have a Canadian flag, and and we have a Canadian anthem. When the Canadian anthem is played, I won't stand for it. I believe in what the anthem says and the message of what the anthem says, but I won't stand for it because it's right now it's hypocrisy. It says, it says to trust they pray to in the anthem we pray to ask God to keep our land glorious and free. And in our government we won't even acknowledge Creator. We don't even want to. They want to pass this legislation. They want to pass this legislation through that's going to tell us what we can believe and not believe. Telling us, making us, if someone believes what they believe, if someone has a right to believe what they believe, our government is supposed to be there, protect our freedoms, to protect and keep us free. And to represent the people, and to look after and to help look after and organize people. That's the point of government. And right now our government is not representing, is not even doing its job. It says they want to reconcile. Truth and Reconciliation Committee of Canada. Well, the Truth and Reconciliation, if you really want to truly reconcile with Canada, well, you know what? It's time that you take it seriously. This needs to be action. You apologized? Okay. Apology is an acknowledgement that something was wrong and done wrong. How the Indigenous peoples were dealt with in the Americas was criminal and unethical. The treaties and the agreements that were signed under duress, coercion, corruption, lies, deceit. There was a breach of trust. These agreements were signed. People, leaders were given drink, for one instance. One time they were given drink. Alcohol, something that Indigenous people didn't have. And they were given this and it affected them. And then agreements were signed. And then they're told the next day, they wake up all weird and say, well, you signed this here. This here, you can't go anywhere anymore because of this. In a language that's not our own. In these agreements, I'm just saying this is because you sign, you shake. This is the agreement. Okay, so you signed here. This is your mark here. on these documents that you don't understand, that aren't in a language that haven't been truly interpreted, and you sign this all away, and you have a hangover, and you find out, and now you have to go live over here. Well, that's a criminal and unethical way to deal with people. And that's how the British Empire has dealt with people all over the world, in conquering lands, enslaving peoples. And all for what? To destroy it? Jesus gets blamed for a lot of stuff. Jesus didn't do this. This isn't how Jesus' kingdom comes. That's what he said. This would break his heart. This breaks his heart. This is not what he intended when his message of truth and peace and reconciliation came over here. Because he is the true reconciler. He wants people to turn around and acknowledge what they did, because that's the teachings that they say in the flag. In all thy sons command. Well, all thy sons demand that you be fair and equitable in your dealings when you're dealing with nations, because we were here first when we got off that ark, that turtle that kept us when God put us there in that turtle, and when we left that ark, that turtle, and migrated over here where God led us. God brought us over here. And he told us to live here and take care of this land. He showed us how to live here. He showed us the medicines. He showed us, the water. He showed us how to live here on this land and live in harmony. And indigenous people lived on this land for thousands of years. For thousands of years. Millions of people lived over here in North America before Europeans came. Europeans came on these boats in their biological warfare. People come. And a lot of communities died from smallpox and stuff like that. Different diseases. One person going back to a community, a people, and the whole peoples died before. The whole village would die before Europeans came. It's Thanksgiving weekend right now in Canada. What is Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? What does that represent? Giving thanks. And we have this Thanksgiving where, and the Columbus Day and all this kind of stuff. And now they're making something saying, oh, this is going to be Indigenous Peoples Days. Yeah. Indigenous Peoples Days. Indigenous Peoples Day. Black History Month. How about Native History Month? Putting it in the curriculum, in the schools, the real history and stuff like that has happened in our nation, the real atrocities and how the agreements and how these things. And right now, Indigenous peoples, I'm bringing a call out. This is a call out right now to all Indigenous peoples, our leaders. Are we going to stand? We are the rightful owners. There's a system right now. There's an election going on right now. We can vote in our leaders and send our leaders to Parliament and elect the leaders and have our leaders go to Parliament and have a seat in Parliament and House of Commons. We can do that in the urban and rural municipalities. in all the writings, there's a system, and there's a system of voting in place right now. We can put the names right now of our leaders, write them in on those ballots, and say, here, this is the leader. And non-Indigenous peoples, you can come behind us if you believe in truly reconciling the relationship, and if you want to truly and if you want to live in this land, if we turn and surrender our hearts, totally surrender our hearts to Creator, totally surrender our hearts to Creator, and admit how Indigenous people have been treated was wrong and criminal. Like, if we look at how the British Empire dealt with all the Indigenous people, it is criminal and unethical by today's standards. If we were to look at these things and how in court dealings and stuff like that today, it is criminal and unethical. I mean, $4, $5 a year for what? That is so laughable. That is so insulting. That only $5 is very insulting. $5 for to live on this land. Indigenous people are sick and isolated, oppressed been oppressed for almost 500 years. Over 500 years. This happened before. This how happened here in Canada. And right now we are in a time right now where we need to be able to listen to our youth, because this is the millennial kingdom that's been prophesied over 2,000 years ago. We can move forward to prosperity and peace and health and freedom. True freedom, true health. If we unite and seriously get together, take care of our planet, because at the bottom line, no matter where you are in this world, you bleed, you breathe, you drink, you need to eat. You live, we die. Greta Thunberg says, we're headed towards a mass extinction. Autumn Pelche, this young girl, saying, that we are the ancestors. We need to be a good ancestor. We need to take care of everything that we have here on this great continent. All these resources can feed the world. We have the intelligence here. Let's raise up leaders, real leaders, by empowering them, equipping them, having our programs, sports programs, art programs, recreation programs, education, teach us real life practical skills. Coping ways. Mental health is something that should be in all classrooms. In education. That's just a little thing. If we invested in our kids, we would have the best athletes represent our nation at Olympics, instead of making them compete for funding. Let's invest in them and have them have friendly competitions with each other, then compete. That's how we raise up and inspire great athletes and show that our nation is strong and healthy and free. You know, and you know that legislation that they're trying to pass through, Bill C-51, I believe it's called, I'm not positive. But this legislation is very dangerous. It's going to take away our freedom to believe. And that's, you know, there's a lot of organizations out there that do a lot of good work. There's this organization called Daystar Native Outreach. The work that they do, they're a group, an army of people that take their vacation. Their vacation. They take their holidays to come and restore and bring back love, the true message of love, to try and restore, you know, the brokenness. But they really can't do, they can only work within this system that keeps oppressing us and keeps putting us down and keeping us down, instead of recognizing us and acknowledging us for who we are. The Indigenous peoples of Canada, of this land, of Canada, are the God-given landlords. We are the landlords. We are the rightful landowners here. God led us here. There was Vikings that came, you know, some time ago. They left. Indigenous people stayed, lived here. Creator showed us how to live here and live on this land and live in balance. We weren't perfect. Yeah, we fought and war. There was wars and fights and over territories. But, you know, the land was good and healthy. We lived in balance with the land. We have an understanding that you're not supposed to take more than you need. There's no need to be wasteful. We're supposed to be prudent, good stewards. That's what your word says. That's what the word says. This word that this nation was founded on. This belief system this nation was founded on. You know, the national anthem, "O Canada." It should be said, "Our home we made on native land." True patriot love in all thy sons command. Well, all thy sons commands that, you know, you should be recognizing that, yeah, that we did. Yes, that this land was made, recognizing that this land was made with false promises. Indigenous people are able, capable, smart, brilliant, amazing people. There are many professionals out there working, having education, have knowledge, have an understanding. It's time that Canada seriously considered inviting Indigenous people into the conversation of running this nation. There's all kinds of reserve systems, all kinds of reserves where we have elected leaders already. There's and in the municipalities there should be a leader alongside the mayor, working alongside the mayor. making decisions together that affect, because we understand this land, how it works, and we're here to protect it. And I believe Indigenous people are here to remind others, our purpose of being good stewards of this planet that we live on. Creator gave us this planet, and it has more than enough. If we look and invest in technology such as solar panels installed on every single home, that's something that my son wrote in a letter to the mayor. If we have solar panels, and I say small wind turbines also, so the sun and wind energy is free. So if every single home had solar panels and a windmill, then we would be off the power grid. There'd be no need to look at to rely on fossil fuels and this dangerous nuclear energy. Natural gas, there'd be no need to have pipelines. We could have a national transit system here in Canada. Investing in a speed rail that goes across Canada, goes across Canada and north and south in the provinces. And buses. These buses could have solar panel and a hydrothermal generator for an engine. This hydrothermal generator technology is able, to have that, to create energy to move things, to power batteries, to move things, motions, to create that energy, and it's just water released into the atmosphere afterwards. More oxygen. Instead of poisoning our air, we're cleaning our air. It's easy to recall all the cars and have them remanufactured with solar panels, and give cars back to the people that are good and sustainable. I know that this is who's going to make money off of this. Is it about money? Because that's right now, that's what's governing our world right now is money. It says, are we gonna choose to live in this planet how Creator intended us to live and be good stewards? Because you can deny Creator, you can deny that there was a Creator, God, all you want, but that doesn't deny the fact that all the evidence out there in history and archaeology and the geological formations of our planet, a lot of the theories, if you look in all these ideas that God gives us to give us an understanding of who He is, these scientific knowledges and breakthroughs and ideas come from Him. He gives us a little understanding. And a lot of times our understanding of it is not perfect, like nuclear reaction, that chain reaction. Right now, this needs to be the chain reaction right now, starting from here, from this moment, this one person to one person to one person, spreading this message of truth out there, spreading the fact that we need to change how we do things. We can't go on killing our planet anymore. Creator doesn't want that. The Bible prophecies is not doom and gloom. Right now we are on the verge of the millennial kingdom. Our youth have inspired ideas. Amazing. We need to listen to them. God said to look through, and in our teachings, in our traditional teachings, we have to respect. We need to hear. Everybody has a voice. And that's what Jesus meant when he said, "See, look through the eye, be like one of these little ones." So that we need to be able to hear them, because they see things going on that we don't see things, how we see things. They have a different understanding, and the decisions that we make affect them. So, they should be able to play a role in making those decisions. Having a youth parliament that can have a say in parliament, and have their voices heard in parliament, is the true spirit of the social democracy that this nation is supposed to be. This social democratic system came out of the Iroquois Confederacy and the Three Fires Confederacy, along with the philosophical ideas of John Locke. That's an example of how peoples can come together in governing. We have an understanding of that. We have a deep understanding of that governing system, knowing that all voices need to have a right and say. Indigenous peoples here were given a way to govern people over here in this side of the world, in the Americas. We had systems of government. There wasn't a lot of crime, in communities. There was no theft, because there was no need to steal, because everybody had to share in everything. Everybody was responsible for what they did. Everybody contributed in their own way. Some are thinkers, some are leaders, some are workers. Everybody contributes in their own way. Some are prayer warriors. That are there praying that we make good decisions. So I just want you to consider that a little bit, a little bit of those ideas. I was just playing this video, playing this song, playing the music in the background, because these are the flag songs. And this symbol, this medicine wheel that we have here, should be on the flag of our nation. This medicine wheel is the truth, because this medicine wheel right now, this is the teaching over here that God gave us. This is all the teachings that are here in this medicine wheel are in the Word, are what Jesus teaches. Because he says he's the medicine. His word that we have here, we came from an oral tradition. That story about Turtle Island, which is really kind of neat. Turtle Island is really about, is you think about when you're telling somebody a story and you're trying to illustrate something. So they were gone and migrated and far away from the ark. And the ark, when you look about it and you see the picture of how it looks and is described, it looks like a turtle shell. It looks like a turtle shell that's like floating on its back. And that's Turtle Island. And you know, the flood story is something that's universal across all cultures, and all the mythologies and all the cultures, and all the teachings. That flood story is there all the way around because it happened. You know, after we got off that ark, we migrated over here into this land because the continents split. That's what it says in the Bible, that before the flood, and when the flood happened, the continents split, and it split apart, and it divided, and the waters rose up and fell down, and the whole earth was flooded, and then the waters receded quickly. And an example of something like that happening was Mount St. Helens, when that volcano erupted in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. When that volcano erupted, it changed the whole landscape in a matter of weeks. The whole landscape was changed. There was whole valleys, rivers done, and because of the water and the running, it happened so fast and receded. It filled up and receded so fast and changed the whole landscape in a matter of hours and weeks and days and weeks. So, you know, that's just one little tiny little evidence that you know, that the flood happened, and that's a universal thing across all teachings, mythologies. You know, in my anthropological studies, yeah, that's what I found to be true. And in my linguistic studies, and studying the languages, and studying the nature of languages and how languages operate, all the languages came from one place, and they're all coming together. Right now, the languages are coming back together in the English language. All the languages that we have in this world were given to us by Creator, and we need to keep and preserve them because they help us to understand His infinite variety, and they help us to understand a little bit, because every language is a little bit different in its honorifics, and how you address people with honor and respect and mannerisms. And all these languages are so awesome, and they're coming back together in the English language. We can now interpret and communicate and come back. You know, when that Tower of Babylon, when God split the languages, you know, and made us all migrate, right? So that we would be. He didn't want us all together at that time because we weren't ready. We didn't know enough. We didn't understand enough about this world He created. So he had us be here longer, studying. He instilled in us Creator instilled in us a curiosity to gain understanding, so that we can get to know Him better. That's where this curiosity to get to know things, to want to know how the world operates, how things go on, that's where that comes from. Is that desire, because He's Creator. He put, it says in that word that He made us in His image. He's a Creator, so He put in us a desire to create, to invent, you know, to look and discover out there. It says, seek first His kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. Well, what that means is, you know, you're looking everywhere in creation that He made to find out, you know, what it teaches us, because creation can teach us so much. God put everything there in creation to teach us, to show us. And Indigenous people have an understanding of that, you know, of what creation can teach us. Have a deeper understanding, you know, how to live here, how to live on this continent, because we were here for thousands of years. We know how to live here. Let us show you. Thanksgiving people came, Puritans came to come here, to live here, to settle, to make a new start, a fresh start, because they were persecuted where they were. They were made fun of because of what they believe. And then they come over here and they're sick and starving. So we fed them and showed them the medicines that are here to use, that help, to heal their mouths and to nourish them, and showed what food, because Creator showed us what food and what things around here is good for nourishment. And that's what we need to pray before we eat. We need to thank God and acknowledge all this stuff that we have, all this food and that nourishment and things that give us nourishment came from Him. We can plant the seed, we could work the ground, we can water it, all that kind of stuff, but we can't make it grow. That's His job. That's Creator's job. Creator is the one that makes the things grow. He's the one that makes the wind and the rain and the sun and all that kind of stuff. He's the one that created all of that. And He's instilling us. Jesus said, you're going to do greater things than I am. That's what He said. You're going to do greater things. Jesus fed the 5,000. There's a perfect example. Jesus fed 5,000. Well, actually, it was more like 15,000, because 5,000, they say 5,000 because it was only 5,000 men. They didn't include women and children in their counting. So I'm going to say there was probably one child and one woman there for every man that was there. So yeah, we'll say about 15,000 people. Jesus fed and cloned right in front of them. 2 loaves of bread and 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. 2 and 5. Okay, 2 and 5. 2 fish, 5 loaves. And when He was done feeding all those people, there was 12 baskets left over. There was more than enough. Right now we have the ability, there's curiosity and ability, and there's cloning. People are cloning. It's like, oh no, we can't eat cloned food. Well, if we thank God, if we acknowledge Him and say, you know what, you made these animals, help you made them. He can help us multiply it to feed the multitude of people right now in this world. There's technology out there, and abilities and the know-how and the scientific knowledge. We just need the wisdom to invite the Creator in our understanding and invite Him into move. That's where the new millennium of peace and prosperity and an abundant life is supposed to be. That's what it says. That's what He promises in His word. If we wake up and understand, we can be, we are, calling out right now to the pharaohs of the world right now. There's these 2 characters in the Bible that were in Egypt that, and Israelites came there, and one listened, one humbled himself and listened, and the people were saved and redeemed from a famine because he listened to God's ordering and to God's plan. And then there was another Pharaoh, Moses. His heart was hardened. He was asked to, God said, let my people go. And he was obstinate and arrogant and said no. And all these plagues and famine and disease, and the lands were poisoned and the livestock died. All this stuff happened, all this disease. This teaches us that this is what can happen right now if the leaders, if this nation doesn't repent, doesn't ask forgiveness, doesn't truly act out that forgiveness, that repentance, that apology, and really want to do things to make things right and do the right thing and do what is right. Because indigenous peoples have been living here. And you know what? This I am just going by the word that this word that established this nation. Well, live by it. Honor it. Honor the agreements. I mean, not just honor them, but have a relook at them. Make a real agreement. Invite indigenous people in government. We need to have, we need to be on the Supreme Court of Canada with a veto vote. Indigenous person on the Supreme Court of Canada. 2 seats on the Supreme Court of Canada. One of them with a veto power vote. And in the Senate, appointed leaders in the Senate. Those leaders are appointed by the leaders, by the elected officials. Those leaders are appointed there in the Senate to make laws and pass laws. Well, we want to have a say in what laws and what policies that are made here in this nation. We have a right to be able to play a role in the laws in this land as the rightful owners and the leaders, and the God-given owners and leaders in this land. It is our God-given right to govern here. And the government now, you want to reconcile. Truth and Reconciliation Committee of Canada. That's what you named it. That's what it's called. Well, this is truth. This is the way to operate in truth and to reconcile. Apologize and put action to your apology and invite indigenous people in all levels of government, municipal, provincial, federal. Okay? This is what needs to happen. No more are we silent. Idle no more. No more are we just going to stand by. But I'm calling out right now to all the leaders, everybody right now, to take a stand and vote in our leaders and put them on the ballot. Get rid of this farce of an election that's happening right now. These leaders, just give me a second here. Just had a little distraction there. I'm sorry. So, another way to truly offer reconciliation, is this, and to stop this oppression and what would solve a lot of problems in the isolated communities, in these isolated northern communities, is the national transit system. Built, owned, and operated by the Indigenous peoples of Canada. Because we're all across this nation, Indigenous people. We're able and capable of building something like this. And we're able and capable. We have many brilliant scientists in our midst to be able to design and come up with a speed rail system to come across this country. We're able to design and come up with a hydrothermal technology and solar technology and wind technology to be able to harness the free energies in this land. We're able to do that. We're able to install policies where we make corporations and companies operating in our Canada to be responsible for the consumer waste that they create. Consumer waste that they create and perpetuate by creating products and all of this kind of stuff, and not making good quality products, good quality, durable products last. Not offering warranties that are real, where they could go into the store and say, hey, this broke. We should be able to go into the store and say, hey, something happened here. My thing broke. How you made it wasn't good. We should be able to have our phones and devices and stuff like that already have a nice protective case on it, built in on it, and a nice protective durable screen protector on it. And then we wouldn't have landfill sites filled up with old dead computers and cell phones and stuff like that. All this stuff can be returned and recycled to these stores. Best Buy, Walmart, all these big box stores operating right now. Radio Shack. Well, it's not Radio Shack now. It's called The Source, right? I just want to turn on this fan for a minute. Give me a second. So that's the national transit system. Solar powered solar panels installed in every home. A real solution to the recycling problem, to the recycling and the waste and stuff like that that's going on. Like this plastic, like common sense says, if this stuff is not breaking down and it's still lasting out there, then obviously it's still good to be used. So let's just melt it down and reuse it. We can make a lot more bags and keep reusing them and have them recycled. Why are we filling this land with garbage instead of recycling? The only thing that should be going in these garbage sites should be compost, stuff that's compostable. And then that makes good soil, good dirt. That's the only waste that should be going there, is stuff that's that's really garbage. Because that's a way that Creator designed the earth, that when stuff dies it rejuvenates and brings life again. Well, that's also a neat kind of thing too. We can really turn around. We can really turn around what's going on in this world. We can really live the abundant life that Creator wants us to. Because Jesus is the smudge. He's the purifier. Anybody that wants to deny that He ever existed, and history, anybody who's ever tried to deny that Jesus existed and that He rose from the dead, tried to deny the resurrection and all that kind of stuff, they turn out the atheists, people that don't want to believe in God, that didn't believe in God. Atheists, anybody who's ever tried to disprove the resurrection, end up coming to believe, because what they find is that the evidence is there. All the evidence is there to support, that Jesus came and lived. He died and He lived again. And, all the reports and the evidence and stuff like that He walked on the earth for 40 days and He ascended. And, He's come and shown Himself in teachings all around the world, like here, like the cross here in our medicine wheel, in this circle of life, all-encompassing infinite circle. Yeah, the Big Bang theory. You know, if I was to hear, you know, something from God, and if I was a creator, and I had all that power, you know, all he had to do was speak, and that was the Big Bang. Everything exploded out of love. Everything came out and is created. And every day God is giving us a new understanding. Breakthroughs in science happen because Creator is allowing those things to happen, so that we can have an understanding, and we can know Him better. He's not there to smite. He's not there to hate us or to kill us, you know, to put us all in hell. That's not. He's a just God. Yes, He's just. He has an order and a plan for everything. But everything in His order and His plan is love and peace, mercy and grace. He gives everybody right till the last moment. His grace and His excellence and His truth is abounding. And if we submit and submit to Creator and His design, you know, he showed us in our 7 grandfather teachings, those 7, the 9 fruits of the Spirit and the 7 grandfather teachings are the same. You know, self-control, you know, that falls in respect, and having respect, and being respectful, respecting yourself and respecting others, loving yourself. And the love, you have to love, really truly love yourself. When you love yourself like truly, and accept who you are and all the experiences that you've gone through and everything that has happened, and you accept it, right? And we learn from it. That's where freedom and liberty is. That's what Creator wants. Creator wants us to be united, not divided. He wants us to have peace, that peace that surpasses all understanding. If we ask for it, He will give us that peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace of mind in here. That's what He took those thorns in His brows for. Jesus took those thorns. He never sinned. Anybody can, he said that because He called out at that time. He called out to the leaders and said to them, He knows, ask anybody who's known me what I have done, what they know about me, if I have sinned. Ask anybody. When the woman was brought to Him and how He treated and loved women, He treated and loved women with so much respect. God had powerful leaders, women leaders. God had powerful women in leadership. It is not God's design to keep women down and oppressed and down. No. Women have a voice and a purpose. They were there to be a helpmate and to work alongside and be together. We are to work together with our partners in unity. Working together in unity, and because, you know, when it comes down to it, we are a human race. A human race. Human. We bleed, live, die. That's, you know, we have to live on this planet. We have to live with each other on this planet. And you know what? This planet isn't as big and huge. We can't keep throwing stuff and junk on the ground and in the dirt and not expect and not have to deal with the consequences of poison. We can't be keeping drilling and taking stuff out of this earth and those fossil fuels and burning toxic stuff into the air. Gasoline and nuclear reactors. You know, parts of lands and stuff like that have been poisoned. The oceans and stuff like that are poisoned because of nuclear reactor leaks and earthquakes happening. You know, if an earthquake happens with a house that had a hydrothermal generator and a solar panel and wind turbine, if an earthquake or whatever and a building, stuff like that, the worst thing would happen is that it would crack or break or spill water on the ground and water the ground. That's about the worst that would happen. Maybe electrical something can happen, but you know, it's not anything that's really toxic or devastating to our planet. There's no need for pipelines. None. No need at all for pipelines. And they're saying, oh, we need pipelines. We need to live on gasoline. Well, you know what? I suggest for the first, you know, in these next 4 years, that we seriously invest in these things. And stop overtaxing our people. Taxes upon taxes upon taxes upon taxes upon taxes. That's ridiculous. You have a land tax. You have a tax to when you go have a gas tax. You have to pay gas. You have a tax on your power bill. You have a tax on your gas bill. You have a tax on this. You have a tax on the land. You have a tax on the car. You have a tax to drive. Tax on the food when you shop. Like we're overtaxed. Really. Too much taxes. You know, like 90%, I'm going to say about 90% of the income most people is spent paying taxes just to have a car to drive on the road, so they can go from one place to one place, and then they have to pay gas to put in that car and more taxes on that gas. When solar and wind power is free. So easy to recall our cars and manufacture them. The national transit system would bring, like having this national transit system makes sense, because I don't get why it costs $3,000 to $5,000 to make a round trip in the province of Ontario to a northern community, to where Indigenous peoples are. I don't understand. There's this fancy pop machine that's in Wendy's. You'll see them in Wendy's restaurants or Subway restaurants, or they're a pop machine that you can put, and you can have a whole bunch of flavors. Nestle bought that pop machine, pop idea, because really what operates behind the pop machine is a water filtration system. A water purifier. It purifies and cleans the water. The person who invented that one, he got this most dirtiest, grossest, disgusting water, and he put it there, and it didn't require a lot of power. That his purpose of inventing that, it was to have clean water, and it doesn't require a lot of power to have clean water go through that filter and come out clean and make soda pop. I like my soda pop. In these companies, Nestle and Pepsi and Coca-Cola companies bought that technology to control the water, to control us, to control our water, so that they can make money giving us water, clean water to drink. They pollute this water. They pollute all this. These corporations, companies are polluting all this water, and they have this technology to clean the water, and they're withholding it from us. There's no reason that filter system cannot be up in these isolated communities. That's a simple, cheap, easy solution to have these things put over there. I think that we should make the Nestle company, since they have that, we should make them invest in, put some of that money back that they took from us, from from selling water, from selling our water, making money off us selling our water. That's free, that Creator gave to us free to drink. Creator gave us that water to everyone. Nobody should be owning the water. That water belongs to all of us. And all of us should have access to clean drinking water. That filtration system that's an easy solution right there. Simple. Nothing that I'm asking here, none of the solutions that I have, that I'm offering, that can be happen is impractical. They're very simple. It just requires a little investment, a little bit. I know some people might say something about me when I say something about taxes. People get their hands up in the air when you talk about money. Well, how is that going to work? Well, Creator has a system. He had a taxing system. The taxes were according to your income, geared to income. That's what it was. He had a 10% of everything that Creator gave us in the first place. Everything Creator gave us. So if He blessed you with a harvest, if He blessed you with good income, if He blessed you with a good paying job, if He blessed you with good opportunities, if Creator gave you this and blessed you with, all He asked for was your first 10% to give back. That's what He asked. So we give 10%, to our government of our income across the board. Everybody. Someone who only makes $1 only gives 10 cents. Someone who makes $10, only gives $1. Somebody who makes $100 gives $10. Somebody who makes $1,000 gives $100. Somebody who makes $100,000 gives $1,000. $100, $1. $1,000, 100. 10,000, 1,000. 100,000, 10,000. 1,000,000, 100,000. If everybody gave according to how they can give, because that's simple. If everybody gave according to what they can give, there's no reason for this nation to be suffering and starving, and the Indigenous peoples, and everybody's here. Indigenous peoples I don't think would have any problem with that if we had a say in organizing and know where the money is going and know where it went. And know what was going on and had a say and where it's spent. That's why we need to be involved in the policies and in the managing of this nation. We have an understanding of how that social democracy works. It was our system of governing. Let us show you how it works, how it truly works. Creator gave that way of governing to us here. Let us show you how it works, how it truly works. These ecological solutions, they are very, very simple and real. We are called to be good stewards on this land. Well, let's do that. These pharaohs of today need to let our people go. That's what Creator, that's what God requires. That is what God demands right now. God demands that you let His people go. We were here. We are His people. Here. He put us here. He led us here to be here in this land. And we are, and so now You know, like those leaders of Egypt. Either you pay us, you know, you need to pay this land needs to be paid for. If you want to continue living on it, then you need to pay your rent. Pay for the land. Because what you paid wasn't so far. What you paid, these agreements and stuff like that, you haven't paid, you haven't honored, you haven't done anything, you haven't even fulfilled the minimum of what you said you were going to do. The minimum. Indigenous peoples, this healthcare system that we have in our country. Our doctors should want to come and work here, should be paid. Our nurses and doctors and teachers should be paid well, because they're performing a vital role in raising up our leaders and keeping us healthy. You know, that these health professionals, our police forces, our security, you know, these things, these institutions, these people, these professionals should be paid well. You know, it's not an easy job dealing with people like our police force has. And yeah, they get a lot of slack because they have to deal with people, and people they see a lot. I can't imagine, you know, a lot of stuff what our police sees, and you know, and the trauma that our soldiers and our first responders and those that are out there doing these important vital roles don't get paid nearly enough for the work they do, for the important work that they do. And there's these companies and organizations and CEOs and corporations that have all this federal reserve. That they have this reserve. That reserve, that money, Fort Knox, all of that gold, all of that belongs to us. That's ours. You took gasoline, you took chemicals, uranium, gold, metal, diamonds, you know, all this kind of stuff taken out of this earth without our permission. And then you tell us that we're poor and lazy. And you make us poor and lazy and oppress us and tell us this and make us feel dirty and all these kinds of things, telling us this and that. But really, you know the truth all along, that we are the rightful owners here. That this wealth, that all this wealth here that this nation has belongs to us, the people. You know, you want to reconcile in truth, like Trump. Oh man, like, what's this idea about the borders? Why are you stopping our people from moving around on their own lands? Mexicans are the indigenous peoples of Mexican America. They're indigenous. That border that you have there, that wall that you want to build, is your wall, is your border, not ours. We had borders, we had our territories that are here, that were established long before that we lived here, long before Europeans. Yeah, they moved a little bit here and there, but we had them. And there's no reason, but we never stopped people from moving. We traded. There was an economy. There was a trading. There was a language. You know, we had a way of dealing and trading with each other equitably and fairly. And now we weren't perfect. Yeah, we fought and we had wars over and skirmishes over territories. But this is our land. This is the first peoples of the Americas. I'm calling out right now to know who you are. To rise up and know who you are. And demand justice. Demand truth. Take ownership. Know who you are. We are the owners and the leaders. We should be leading and be in government in our land. Those agreements were unethical. It were signed in duress and unethical. If we were to look at them today, they wouldn't be accepted. Because they're first of all, there's breach of trust. There's no integrity. There was corruption. You know, one thing, Jesus said, this is not how my kingdom comes. This is not how we're supposed to deal with peoples and nations. We're supposed to deal fair and equitably with the nations. Well, here we are, we're nations. We were here first. And we were treated worse than dogs. Like worse than dogs. To get rid of like some dead dog. Well, we weren't. We are here. You couldn't get rid of us. That's because God put us here. You can't stop. So once God starts something, you can't stop it. So God put us here. Creator put us here to take care of this land and take care of these things and to so are we going to wake up? Are we going to rise up? Are we going to establish? Are we gonna let our leaders lie to us and tell us that this is how it is, that how they're gonna do things? Are we gonna continue to let these corporations and companies poison us? Or are we gonna make them accountable and responsible? But by really recycling, bringing in, the electronic, that's a simple solution to a lot of the landfill sites is real recycling. Because obviously this stuff is lasting, this stuff is lasting and it's not degrading and it's still out there. It's still there. So let's go pick it up and bring it back to bare bones and use it again. It's simple and easy to do that. Melt it and reuse it and make it again until it can't be, until you can't do anything with it anymore. Till it's dust. I'm sure we could use plastic until it's dust. Where did fossil fuels come from? What's it made of? What is oil? And what are we? Are we we're fat and oil? We have fat in us and oil in us and water in us, and when we die and our bodies rot, it becomes dust. So I think that if we use this plastic and stuff until it's dust, then it becomes dust, and then it starts over again. It renews again. This is the millennial kingdom. Are we going to listen to our youth? Are we going to listen to understanding? Are we going to break and open our eyes to understanding? Well, let's do it then. Let's open our eyes. Thank you for listening. And if you want to share, I would ask if you could please share this, and hopefully this message get out there and gets heard. I have a lot more to say, and a lot more ideas addressing a lot of issues, like the national transit system. Like that's a simple, easy solution that we can have here, and that we can do. It's easy. It can be done. A little investment, a little investment into that, and building it, and having a speed rail go across, and stop isolating our indigenous peoples in isolated communities. Give them, have the water filtering system and water treatment plants up there, solar power technology and wind turbine technology, so that they can have power, and to run things in their house. There's no reason for their food costs to be so much. If there was a national rails, if there was a national transit system, the food can move more easily and freely into these isolated communities, bringing down the costs. And a lot of this rail system can be powered by solar energy and wind energy and hydrothermic reaction also. I know you guys are like these things. You think if we invest in this in science and look in science, God has all these things. Creator has all these things in nature, in what He created, to show us how we can do things, how we can make things better. He showed us, and He said that you're gonna do greater things than me. With the food, with feeding the 5,000. That's just one kind of thing. You might think I'm nuts or crazy or whatever, but if we invite God and invite Him into it, it won't be wrong. It'll be good and healthy. I think there's this story that's there in the word there, where it talks about the meal, where there's these all these leaders. They were there, they were gathering all these leaders, and I'm thinking it was Elijah, might have been Elijah, but it was an Eli anyways. When Elijah or Elisha, I'm not sure, but all these leaders were gathering, and they gathered these gourds and stuff like that in the wild to make this soup, to make this stew or whatever for their gathering, for their feast. And apparently when they did all that gathering and stuff like that, there was a poisonous one that was gathered, and they stuck it in there. And then one of the elders that were there, that saw that and looked there and said, "Oh, look, there's this soup is death. This soup is death." That's what they said. We can't eat this soup. This soup is death. This stew is death. This is a death stew. And when I think about what's going on right now, what's going on in this nation right now, that's what all the leaders right now are gathering, and they have that death stew. They've been going around, and they add this stuff, and that thing that brings death into the stew is pride and greed. That's that death, that greed. That's the death. That's we're wanting to make money and be rich and be powerful. That greed, that selfishness. That's that death in that stew. All the leaders that were there in that time at that gathering, were there gathering at that time, and they met up and they gathered, and then there was that death and that stew. But you know what happened? There was a leader there of God. It was either I should look it up, but maybe somebody could look it up for me who it was. When that death stew in the Bible, if it was Elijah or Elisha, I'm not sure who it was, but in that, all he did was he prayed and thanked God and asked God, and he put this meal. The stuff is called meal, like a grain, like a meal. Like and it becomes it has a tendency, it can become like worms or something like that afterwards. But he put this meal in that stew, and thanked God. And there was nothing magical or whatever about that meal, but there's something about that meal that was put in there that made it clean, that made that stew good and nutritious to eat, and then all them elders were able to eat that stew afterwards. It canceled out that poison in there. It canceled out that poison, that meal, that nutrition. Got rid of that poison, neutralized the poison, neutralized. If we have truth and bring truth here into how we govern, then the death of the lies will be neutral. The neutral will be neutralized. The lies will be neutralized, and our leadership will be healthy and be able to be nourished. When they allow truth to come in and cleanse policies, cleanse decisions that are made, cleanse things that happen. That's just some things, some little things that this word teaches me and has shown me, and that God has shown me. And all my teachers that I've had, that I've listened, that have spoken to my life and poured into my life, is up until right now to what I'm sharing with you is right now we need to be calling out. I guess I can say I can be there's that spirit of Moses right now that needs to operate right now. And that was prayed over me at Harvest Worship Center on One Miracle Sunday. That that I would be a Moses to my people. Moses was a leader in recognizing God's voice, and heard from God, and was humbled by God, and taught by God, and he was an instrument in delivering the people out of oppression, out of Pharaoh's hand. So I'm calling out right now to the pharaohs of our nations right now to let our people go, to let us lead in government. Let us walk in liberty and true freedom, and let our people go. We are no longer your slaves. We are no longer a slave to your lies. We want truth and reconciliation. Truth and love need to govern our nation. So that's what that's the crux of my message. That's the point of what I'm saying here, is that we need to establish real Indigenous leadership in this nation, in the House of Commons, in the Senate, and the Supreme Court of Canada, and in municipalities, in the provincial and the federal. Yep, provincial, federal, Supreme Court of Canada. So now that, the British Empire and the Crown, needs to acknowledge and how they in their dealings with Indigenous peoples was wrong and criminal, and needs to repent right now. And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a turning around in thinking. That's what repent means, is to turn your thinking around. Turn how you think. Indigenous peoples are leaders here, are the rightful leaders. So let's rise up and be the rightful leaders that we are in our municipalities, in our areas. Make a ballot, and that's the ballot that we put in the voting box. We are the people. The taxes is our money. This is our government. Well, let's show them that, that let's show them that, Indigenous, that we have a right. And and anybody who wants to argue, this is a sound, valid, legal argument that I'm saying here, by legal precedence, legal principle, and legality. We are the owners here, because the treaties and the agreements and all that kind of stuff that happened should be canceled, null and void. And we need to establish a new agreement, a new legislation that involves First Nations people in governing this nation. We should be consulted first when decisions are made, and have the final say when the laws pass through. And we need to stop dividing us in our blood count levels. One person's, if an Indigenous person has 0.005% Indigenous and they can prove it, then they're Indigenous. Everybody should want to be Indigenous. Look at this beautiful land we live in. This is a promise. Canada's flag has a leaf on it, and a leaf symbolises health and healing. And that red flag, and that red leaf covered in blood, because that's a lot of how this land was founded, was by the blood and on the backs and of the Indigenous people. That reserve, that federal gold reserve, that is there because all these resources on this beautiful land were taken. And kept out of our hands. Kept out of our management. Of us being involved in development and living and prospering in this land. That's what those agreements were, until the wind blows. The sun shines and the grass grows and the wind blows and the river flows. As long as the sun and the moon still shine and rise and come up, and as long as that happens, that's how long these agreements were supposed to be, that we were supposed to be living and prospering together. Well, here we are. The sun is still blowing, the grass is still growing, the wind is still blowing, the rivers are still flowing. They may be a little bit more, they may be a little poisoned and a little dirty and all that kind of stuff, but it's easy. We can clean it up. It's going to be hard work, because we've been going for so long. It's going to take a little investing and a hard work and tightening up our belts to get the work done. But it can be done. Give me a second here. Okay, back again. So I hope I don't know if anybody of you feel or understand this, what I'm talking about. Like, I hope that what I'm saying here is making sense. Some little, I don't mean to sound anything, but some little thumbs up or whatever and stuff like that is helping me to know that you're hearing what's being said, and if you share these messages, maybe it'll get out there. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, for taking the time to listen right now here. And I just pray and hope that our nation will wake up and start listening to our youth, start listening to us, and make a real decision. I'm this is Thanksgiving weekend, and we just a reminder that this Thanksgiving happened because we celebrate Thanksgiving happened because we helped our leaders. We helped a long time ago these people that came here they came here to colonize and start a new life. That's what they came here for. Their purpose was to colonize and to come here and start a new life. And we as Indigenous people, gracious and generous, and saw that they were sick and needed help, and so we gave them medicine, and we fed them, and we housed them, and we helped them establish themselves here and live here. And what's the thanks and the payback we get? That our land's taken, disease, famine. We get our lands stolen. We get told that we're no good. Meanwhile, they couldn't even live over here. They couldn't survive over here, but we helped them. So let's admit, and let's do some real good. Let's do some real good and make some real change, and do something real here. And these are real solutions that can happen and be done. Thank you. Miigwech.